vidya karta ramabhyayam. Krishna explains, according to the three modes of material nature and work ascribed to them, the four divisions of human society are created by me, and although I'm the creator of this system, you should know that I'm yet the non-doer, being unchangeable. So, these four varnas and four ashrams are a very important part of society. And Prabhupada explains in the purport that there's actually a tremendous amount of information in the Mahabharata, where Bhishma Dev is also advising Yudhishthir, sage Domya is also giving him a lot of advice on how to operate within the parameters of these four varnas and four ashrams. So the four varnas are, who knows? I'm sure everybody knows. Anyone want to try? Four varnas are? Those are the ashrams.
Brahmana, Kshatriya,
Vaishya, Shudras. So those Brahmana, Kshatriyas, Vaishya and Shudras, they have certain responsibilities and certain duties that they should try to operate under. And what happens is, so those four varnas, they're based on the nature of an individual, based on an inclination of an individual. It is not by choice that you suddenly decide that if you have a very passive nature and you decide you want to, get into a Kshatriya-oriented work, it doesn't suit with your nature. What happens is there's a lot of conflict within that personality and work. So it doesn't gel very well. So that's why the spiritual master, he is actually supposed to be observing you and engage you according to your varna, according to your inclinations, so that no one is unhappy. And then ashrams are the status that you live in, such as some prefer to live as a grihastha, some prefer to live as a brahmachari, some as vanaprasthas and sannyasis. Ideally speaking, everyone should go through a process of brahmacharya training. Learn to practice self-restraint. It is a big problem in society in general, because we have so many temptations that we are not able to restrain our minds from going in various different directions. So it does happen that without proper training, those temptations are harder to overcome, harder to control than if you're not trained. So the training was very crucial in the four ashrams. Brahmacharis were trained to learn to self-control, and grihasthas learned the duties of a grihastha, juggling family, household, house, children, and at the same time managing to keep Krishna in the center of your house. And then you have the vanaprasthas. After a certain stage in your life, then you must give up this family life and go back again into missionary work and try to focus your mind on taking the next stage of life, which is sannyas, and going out and talking about Krishna to everyone. So grihasthas working and juggling life and maintaining to have Krishna in your house is one of the hardest ashram of all the four, which is brahmacharis, grihasthas, vanaprasthas and sannyas. Grihastha ashram is the hardest, and the reason is because we make it hard. Because of so many responsibilities, we make it very hard on ourselves. But actually grihastha ashram is not very hard, because Krishna explains that as long as you keep him in the center, then you're maintaining an ideal Grihastha life. Bhaktivinoda Thakur makes it more simple. See, Rupa Goswami explains that Sadhu Sangha Nama Kirtan Bhagavat Shravan Mathurava Srimurti Shraddhaya Sevan. These are the 5 important characteristics. Nectar of devotion. So many things you should do and you shouldn't do, so many do's and don'ts. But he said this is getting a little too complicated, so let me break it down. He breaks it down into this 5. Associating with devotees, chanting the holy names, Sadhu Sangha Nama Kirtan, hearing Krishna Katha, Bhagavat Shravan, Mathura Vas, living in a holy place, and worshipping the deities. In Hari Bhakti Vilas, who's authored by Sanatana Goswami, he explains in great detail how Grihasthas, they can actually follow all the required or necessary or stipulated activities of a devotee just by following these 5. And this 5 can be done anywhere. He explains that, Bhaktivinoda Thakur actually explains, that we can do sadhu sangha, we can associate. Nama Kirtan, we can chant. Mathura Vas is the 3rd one. How do you live in Mathura? How do you live in a holy place? So Bhaktivinoda Thakur says that Jedino Grihe Bhajana Dekhi Grihete Goloko Bhai. That means the day or when you get together in your house and you worship the deities and you are associating with devotees and you're singing kirtan, that place becomes Goloka Vrindavan. So you don't even have to go up there. It's right here in your house, in the middle of downtown Korea. So the Acharyas have made it very simple for us. They have not made it very complicated. The Grihastha life is actually very easy because parents have to understand that their children are their worshipable deities. You do not take up other services before your children. Your children are representatives of Krishna. Krishna has placed them in your house, in your life. This is Krishna's gift to you so that you can serve them. And through serving them, you make spiritual advancement. Not that you neglect your children and you worship Krishna. We have to understand, because sometimes we tend to, in the history of ISKCON, in the past history of ISKCON, distant past, there was an understanding that Grihastha life is a fallen situation. But the fact of the matter is, if you want to advance in spiritual life, regardless of what, we must always feel ourselves as the most fallen. If you don't think you're fallen, there is no room for spiritual advancement. So this was a very important principle added by Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu when he says, Amanena Manadena. That you should be ready to offer all respects to others and without expecting any respect for yourself. What is that a symptom of? That is a symptom of humility. That is a symptom of feeling yourself helpless. And that is when Krishna comes and intervenes in your life. The helplessness that we are incapable by our own strength to get to Krishna. Krishna, we need your help. So we have to feel the helplessness. If we see many instances in the Vedas, in the Mahabharata, you see Draupadi. When she felt helpless, Krishna was there. So we have to acknowledge that Bhaktivinoda Thakur says, Ekaki amar nahi paye bol harinama sankirtan. says, by myself, I am weak. I have no strength. He says, please give me the association of other satsanga, give me the association of other devotees, so that I may be able to taste this Naam, this Harinam. Sadhu Sangha, Nama Kirtan, that Naam, you have to taste it. We were discussing yesterday that sometimes people think that you see with your eyes. In Krishna consciousness, you don't see with your eyes. You see with your heart. And you want to advance in spiritual life, you must have this required attitude of tremendous amount of humility. Mahaprabhu is in these 8 verses of Siksashtakam. When you read those 8 verses, and other Goswamis have written such long commentaries on what those verses mean, and how those verses are the essence and the means and the process of going back home, back to God. So this attitude is the most important thing. In Grihastha life, we need to understand that these children that Krishna has given us, this is an opportunity for us to serve. A lot of us, we do not go to the temple, we do not have time. When we're single, when we can have a million excuses not to go to the temple and stay at home. So Krishna said, okay, if that's your excuse, then I'm going to figure out a way to serve, because you need to serve. Bhakti means service. A lot of the time there's a deep misunderstanding of what bhakti is. When you study this verse, in Nectar of Devotion, Krishna explains, Rupa Goswami explains, Anya bhilasita sunyam jnana karma dhenavritam anukulyena krishnanushilanam. This last line is it's a very crucial line. Anukulyena krishna anushilanam. That shilanam, the word shilanam comes from this word shil in Sanskrit. The word shil means repetition, something that is repeated. What is repeated? Anushilanam, to follow, to practice. Practice what? Krishna Anushilanam. Practice Krishna consciousness. And this has to be a repeated process. So what happens when we don't want to serve Krishna? Krishna puts service in front of our lap. And the fact of the matter is, whether we want to serve or not, we're going to serve somebody. I know that, at least in America, a lot of the times, when you have a pet, you take it to register the pet. They will ask you the master of the pet. Who's the master of the pet? And you always say, okay, it's me. And they give you a name, and they give you they put a little tag on the pet. And in all reality, he's claiming to be the master of this pet. But if you walk around the park, it's very clear who's the master and who's the servant. Because this dog, you have him on the leash and he's pulling you and you're going wherever he or she wants to go. But we claim, yes, we are the master. This is the nature of the human being, that we always claim to be something, because it is a false sense of self-confidence, of prestige, that you always think you have to be the center of it. And it's explained in many chapters of the Bhagavad Gita, where it explains, this mentality of the living entities. Adya Vijanavan Asmi, today I have went and I have done this and I have done that, I have conquered this, and I have... The mentality of a person who is not Krishna conscious is thinking how I have done all this. It is because of me this is happening. And if it wasn't for me, this wouldn't happen. If it wasn't for this, no one would be here to serve the deities. If it wasn't for me, no one would put the offerings. If it wasn't for me, there would be no temples. So the fact that we become the center is what causes this bondage to continue and deepen our involvement with material energy and keep us entangled in this material world. So the crucial factor in all of this is that we need to understand we're nothing but servant. And that nature, this is the very nature of a living entity, is to serve. Now we have to decide, do we want to serve our dogs? Do we want to serve Krishna? Do we want to serve our senses? Who do we want to serve? We can serve our country. There's so many things you can serve. That determination is what the living entity is given, that freedom. Living entity falls under the marginal potency, the Tatastha Sakti. The Tatastha Sakti vividhaiva shriyate. It explains in the Bhagavatam, explains in the Bhagavad Gita. The living entity, you have this great independence. No one is forcing down your throat. No one has a gun to your head and say, hey, this is what you got to do. No. Nothing. You have full freedom to do whatever you want. Krishna has given it to you. Take your pick. The living entities, because it's so engrossed in trying to enjoy the material nature, he's obviously going to make some decisions that are not going to favor his spiritual life. So therefore, Rupa Goswami is explaining that we must associate with devotees. We must hear, we must chant. We must create an environment of Goloka Vrindavan in our house. It's not very hard. Bhaktivinoda Thakur is making it so simple and easy for us. There is no need for you to fly to Vrindavan, fly to Mayapur. We just, I just flew in. We just devotees from Atlanta. Five of us: Lakshman Ram Prabhu, Dinadayal Madhav Prabhu, Lakshman Ram Prabhu's wife and his son, and Arjun Prabhu. We flew in from Atlanta. It's a 12-hour and 45-minute flight. But for you to go to India, it's just a long flight, and then go to Vrindavan, and such a hassle. Bhaktivinoda Thakur said, hey, you have a worshipable deity at home, you have a son to serve, you have the deities to take care of, turn this place into a Goloka Vrindavan. And Krishna also explains in the Bhagavatam to Narada Muni. Narada Muni is asking Krishna, oh Krishna, where is your address? I want to know, where do you live? 1-800 Goloka Vrindavan. Krishna has an address. And what does he say to Narada? Yatra gayanti mad bhakta tatra tishtami Narada. Wherever my devotees are chanting my name, I'm there. Is there evidence of that? Yes. And Draupadi was getting disrobed in this assembly with the Kauravas. She called for Krishna and Krishna just showed up. Because Krishna said, wherever my devotees chant my name, I'm there. So is Krishna here? Yes. So if you chant Krishna's name at home, is he there? I don't think Krishna ever lies, because his name is Achyuta. Achyuta means infallible, that he never fails. He never fails in protecting his devotees. There's a little pastime in the Mahabharata when Draupadi was where Dushasana was trying to disrobe Draupadi. Draupadi was holding on to her saris, trying to save her modesty, her chastity. And she was holding on, and then she let go of one hand and called for Krishna. And then she realized she was still trying to protect herself. Who are we to protect anything? So when she flung both her arms in the air, Krishna was right there. Krishna takes the form of the sari and supplies unlimited saris. Sometime, wife asks the husband, you don't buy me enough saris. I only have 50 saris at home. And there's 365 days. So we're still short of a couple hundred saris at home. So you know that Krishna will provide you unlimited amount of saris if that's what you want. And he has shown it time and again, that if that's what you want, if you want Krishna, you have it. And he's making himself readily available. I mean, who would think in the middle of Korea, there's devotees. I went to this temple in, what is it called? The Jumbi temple. I was shocked. There was 200 people, 200 devotees. They were chanting and dancing and just, that place turned into a spiritual world. I mean, it was ecstatic. I mean, who would think? But see, Mahaprabhu's mercy is such that no one is exempt. No one is profiled to not get his mercy. In fact, the more fallen you are, he wants to come for you. And so that is why, if you want to make spiritual advancement, my first point is you have to think and feel helpless. If you feel yourself fallen, that is when Mahaprabhu is going to come after you. Because that is what he is saying. Who are the first people that he came after? He came after Jagai and Madhai. They were so sinful. It explains, they were so sinful. Chitragupta, who's the secretary of Yamaraj, the god of death, his hard drive was full. And they were discussing, and Yamaraj's hard drive never gets full. Please understand, this is not some hard drive that you can made by human-made hard drives. This hard drive never fails and is never full. But it was full with the sins that these two people had committed. And he said, no, these are the people that deserve the mercy the most. So we have to understand that our situation is such that we want to feel ourselves so humble that Krishna is willing to pay some attention and give us his mercy. So that's point. And in terms of more on Grihastha Ashram, there was another famous story. Narada Muni, he was having a dialogue with Krishna, and Krishna wanted to give him a little taste of what a Grihastha Ashram is. And you know, Narada Muni he wasn't dogging on the Grihastha Ashram, but he said it's not a very good status to be in. So Narada, when Krishna said that, he says, no, Grihasthas, they're my great devotees. I love these Grihastha devotees. They go through so much, they still remember me, they always try to serve me. So those are very dear to me. So then Krishna called Narada one day and he said, Narada Muni, I would like you to carry this pot of oil or water, a pot on your head. And you have to make sure that this pot doesn't fall off your head. You want to make sure you hold it correctly on your head, and I want you to walk around this garden and come back to me. So Narada Muni is making sure that nothing inside the pot, and it's full, nothing inside the pot falls out. And he's watching his steps, making sure, his steps are, the floor was not even. He was walking with this pot on his head. And he came back. So Krishna asked him, how many times did you think of me? He said, Krishna, I was, you wanted me to make sure nothing falls out, so I was paying attention to this. How did you expect me to think of you? So then Krishna explains that Grihastha life is such that it's very difficult, but at the same time, when you understand, actually Prabhupada many times explained, a husband and wife, in their relationship, the husband needs to look at the wife as a gift from Krishna. And when Krishna gives you a gift, you better cherish it. You better worship it. You better nurture it. You better take care of it. Otherwise, you're not respecting Krishna's gift. If someone just gave you a precious gift, and you did not nurture and you just left it on the side, the person that gave you the gift, what is he going to think? He said, look at this guy. I gave him a gift that he can cherish for the rest of his life, and he just trashes it? This is how Krishna is thinking. We have to understand that when Krishna gives us a wife, or gives the wife a husband, we need to understand that we need to respect that. We need to understand that Krishna has sent this person, and my service is to understand how I can serve this person the best that I possibly can. Why? because this is Krishna's representative in my house. And if you do not think that this my wife, my son, is not a gift from Krishna, and it is an object of your sense gratification, guess what? You're in for some real shock. Because all the problems that you can possibly imagine come your way, it's going to be there. Because if you think your husband is for your enjoyment, your wife is for your enjoyment, you know, that's the very reason we're here. And the more we think about that, the more we think about it in that pattern, then our conditioning and our attachment grows to the material world, to material nature, and we go far and far away from Krishna. So this is very important to understand, that anything that comes your way, Krishna's given this to you. The Supreme Lord has given you a gift, and tell me you're not gonna hold it precious. When husband and wife, they have disagreements, they argue. Sometimes about the smallest things. But guess what? If you think that this person is Krishna's representative and I need to serve this person, will there be a fight? If you think that you are the servant, is there ever a fight? There is never a fight. And if there is a fight, it's a good fight. Because both want to serve each other. It's a great fight. Can you imagine husband and wife saying, no, I want to do your laundry. The wife is saying, no, I want to do yours. You're saying, I want to do the dishes. This competition to serve each other. You have to understand, ISKCON, Srila Prabhupada, his very intent was to create the mood of Goloka Vrindavan. What is in Goloka Vrindavan? What is in Vrajabhumi Vrindavan? The attitude of service. And that is bhakti. Bhakti is not a mental thing. Bhakti is an act of service. So this is the essential part of our mission. The Prabhupada came to teach Vraja Bhakti, the love that is there in Vrajabhumi. And that is that you realize you're a servant. In what capacity? Doesn't matter. I just want to please you. Whatever it takes, and I have no expectations. And when you realize you serve your wife and the husband serves the wife serves the husband, with that attitude of service, with that idea that this is Krishna's representative and I need to serve, then there is no problem. But we need to understand that this is not easy. It takes cultivation of Krishna consciousness, husband and wife. How often husband and wife actually sit together and chant their rounds? How often husband and wife actually sit together and eat? The husband is eating, the wife is serving. Who makes you the king of the house, that you feel that this person can just sit there and serve you? And if you feel, you acknowledge that I don't deserve the service, then you accept the service with humility and you provide service back. So this relationship of service is what is important in our spiritual life to progress. And this happens in every ashram, and particularly in Grihastha ashram. We need to keep in mind that unless we have this attitude of service, that this individual is not my property. In India, I know, once you get married, the husband thinks, this is mine, she does whatever I tell her. Becomes a slave. This is not a devotional relationship. Devotional relationship means I serve you, you serve me, together we serve Krishna. This is how marriages work. When marriages fall apart is when we think this person is for my enjoyment. She is supposed to please me. She's supposed to cook for me. This is why I married her. She's supposed to cook and wash the dishes and massage my feet and and take care of the kids and have a job and make sure before I come home from work has my dinner ready. I mean, this is what the human mind tends to think. But the Shastras explain it otherwise. If that's what you think, good luck trying to be Krishna. So therefore, we need to understand that we are eternal servants of Krishna. If we can serve our dog, for sure we can serve our children and our wife as husband or wife and serve them as an object of worship. In India, they say if a daughter is born, at least the village that I was born in India, they say that if a girl is born, she's representative of Lakshmi. This is what they say in India. This is what the Vedas say. But what is it happening? Every time there is a girl, they want to kill it before it comes out. So is this how we go forth in this civilization? Is this the mood of Goloka Vrindavan? Is this the mood of Mayapur? The mood of Mayapur is service, is mercy, is affection, is love. Mahaprabhu came to give love, ultimate love. The prema is ultimate love. He came to give that love that is there in Vrindavan. Personally distributed. So we need to keep this in mind. And that's why Krishna says, I have created this 4 varnas and 4 ashrams. But there's a difference. The difference is you have to keep Krishna at the center of it all. And that's what makes a huge difference. So thank you very much for your attention. And if there's any comments or questions or any discussions, we'll have a few minutes, then we'll...
Also, I think is, as a father, as a husband, I want the nice kids, but I don't take care of my wife. Like example is, I want the nice mango, sweet mango, but I don't take care of mango trees. If I don't take care of the mango trees, how I get the nice mango? Everybody likes sweet mango, right? Right or not? How I get it? I have to take care, right? I do the water, I do the fertilizer. If some problem, I can take care of that, right? Then I can get the sweet mango. Then I can eat it. So if I need the nice kids, I have to take care of my kids and my wife. Make sure she is healthy. Right? Healthy mom can give healthy kids. But we are mad. We're from India. We don't think that way. I'm right or wrong? So we have to take care of our wife, and then we can give the nice gifts.
Anyone else have any comments or questions? Feel free to ask. We'll be happy to have some dialogue so it's not one way street. Yes.
So, in this material world, it's often described as, when one becomes attached to the wife and woman, that this is to increase their illusion, and that we should want to serve Krishna. And but in devotional life, it seems also that when devotees get married, then they have this where they love Krishna, but they also love each other. And so I'm just wondering, in the spiritual world, is it like that, where in Goloka Vrindavan, if you have a wife, let's say, then and a family, then because I've heard that in Vrindavan everything is centered on Krishna. Everyone is mainly concerned with Krishna. But is there also that like I love Krishna and I love my wife and children and this, or they just like forget about everything else and they're just fully absorbed in Krishna?
Everyone hear that question? Yes? No? The question is, I'll try to phrase it in a nutshell. He was asking if in Goloka Vrindavan, in the spiritual world, do they love Krishna and their families, or do they just love Krishna?
Yeah, or they're just fully absorbed in Krishna and they kind of
neglect their families.
They're just kind of just in the peripheral vision because they're so absorbed in Krishna, or is it, well, you're part and parcel of Krishna and I'm part and parcel of Krishna. And they love each other also, and, or is it just they think, oh, you're a spark, this is the big fire. Okay.
Okay, everyone heard that question? So, actually, Prabhupada explains in the Srimad Bhagavatam, in the spiritual world, Krishna is the center. Krishna is the pivot, and everything in Goloka Vrindavan revolves around him. So when he wants the sun to rise, the sun rises. When he wants the sun to set, the sun sets. If they're having fun, and Krishna is having fun with his friends, with the gopis and with the cowherd boys, and Krishna's having a great time and he wants it to go on, then it just goes on. The time in the spiritual world is not like the time here. The clock keeps ticking and you better get so much done in such and such time. So in the spiritual world, everything revolves around Krishna, yes. Every family, every children, they're also revolving around Krishna. But at the same time, when you're conscious of Krishna, then you automatically, when you're conscious of Krishna, when you're actually Krishna conscious, you automatically are conscious of all the living entities. So there is no question of neglect. The neglect comes when you're not Krishna conscious or you're pseudo-Krishna conscious. Because conscious of Krishna means Krishna is everywhere. Krishna is in your heart. How am I not going to serve you if I see you as a representative of Krishna? Neglect you. That's just not going to happen. Because Krishna conscious means you're conscious of every living being around you. Bhaktivinoda Thakur explains, Krishnero samsara kori chari anachar. Jive daya Krishna nam sarva dharmasar. That we must understand. This pseudo renunciation, this pseudo devotee, he needs to go out. This anachar, this unnatural behavior, this immoral behavior, this unethical behavior has to go out. There is no room for it. What is there room for? You become Krishnaya samsara. That means you become a householder for Krishna. Krishnero samsara kori chari anachari. And to get rid of this pseudo renunciation, this pseudo spiritualism. Oh, this, if I get married, is considered to be an illusion, and I'm just going to fall attached to my wife, and I'm going to forget Krishna. When you look at it from that perspective, what happens is Bhaktivinoda Thakur is saying, no, don't do that. You should get married and have Krishnaya samsara. That means a household life that belongs to Krishna. You are married for Krishna. Sometimes we endeavor so hard in the history of ISKCON. The Grihasthas, they would go out and sell books for hours, 10, 12 hours, and the children at home were neglected. So then, where is that? You're going to go save someone else outside from suffering, and your children are here neglected? How does that work? This is exactly what Prabhupada spoke very much against. This is what every single acharya in our sampradaya talks about. When you talk about grihastha life, you should not do that. You should understand this household, Bhaktivinoda Thakur says, Krishna Sanchar. That means this household is Krishna's. This house belongs to Krishna. There is a temple of Krishna. This family belongs to Krishna. Everything that goes in the kitchen is cooked for Krishna. And that is what you should do. So this pseudo-renunciation, pseudo-spirituality, he said, forget about it. And you'll get a ton of that in India. Tomorrow somebody wakes up and he comes up with a great philosophy and he has a PhD from some university and he puts it on his resume. You know, I have studied this and this Shastra, and goes to Vrindavan, and next thing you know, he's a big guru there making tons of disciples and misguiding people. So this is important to understand. And this Grihastha life, the 4 ashrams, the 4 varnas are held by this Grihastha ashram. Grihastha ashram takes care of the brahmacharis, the sannyasis, the vanaprasthas. So imagine how important this ashram is. And the importance of how it should have Krishna as the base of it. So in Vrindavan, everyone is super Krishna conscious in Golok Vrindavan. So there is no question of neglecting your children. There is no love separate from Krishna. Everyone in the family loves Krishna. Everyone is super Krishna conscious. We defined bhakti yesterday. We had a lengthy discussion. We won't get into it today. And you know that in Goloka Vrindavan there is pure bhakti. There is transcendental love. I don't know if I answered your question. But in a nutshell, we have to understand that one has to be very honest in Krishna consciousness, with one's heart, with oneself. There is no question of being artificial. We fake it. We have one life, you know, at work, and then another night life, that's a separate life, and then we have another household life. We have so many multiple lives. And it's a pain juggling all that life. In America, such a huge number, I think it was 1 out of 4, 1 out of 5 are seeing counselors and psychiatrists. Because we're living so many lives, multiple lives. We're not honest with ourselves in our service and dedicating ourselves. So we have to be honest with ourselves as Grihasthas. And we need to keep Krishna in the center of it. Thank you very much. Anyone else? Otherwise we'll thank you for tolerating me. Yes.
You just said that we should not think that if we have done something, then it is because of my efforts. I mean, you said that sometime before. But if some mistake happened from anybody, how we should take that?
That is yours. A Vaishnava,
Yeah.
anytime there is a fault, he accepts that is his mistake. And anytime
Yes.
something happens good, he's giving credit to Krishna. Anytime you succeed in something, devotee always thinks, Krishna, it is because of your mercy. Prabhupada explains how to handle success and failure. And if it fails, realize that it is due to my calculations or my mistakes or my judgment. But devotee, whenever he does anything, he normally keeps Krishna. What would make Krishna happy? What would make the devotees happy? What would make my spiritual master happy? What would enhance the movement? What would enhance Srila Prabhupada's mission? Those are the thoughts a devotee always thinks. Because devotee knows that nothing in this world happens. Nothing, you cannot succeed in anything without, not even a blade of grass moves without the sanction of Krishna. What about your success in business and school and family? For you to think that it is because of your own efforts, This is called Atmavan Manyate Jagat. Everything in this world revolves around me. I am Mr. John, and it is because of my abilities that we have a house, everyone's happy, we have this great facility, I have succeeded, I have conquered. This is the mentality. If you read, I think it's the 13th chapter, talks about all this divine and demonic natures. Adya Vijanavan Asmi. Today I have gone out and I have done this, and I have done this, and it is due to my effort that things are moving in this direction. So this I, me, and mine identification has to change.
That's the American philosophy.
That's the American philosophy.
Very hard to overcome.
Very hard to. And they, unfortunately, the educational system is where they plant this.
Yes.
If we understand the educational system, I'm sure all of you have children or been to schools, the educational system is basically, when Prabhupada calls it a slaughterhouse, he literally calls it a slaughterhouse. And I never understood, why you call it a slaughterhouse? No one's getting killed. I mean, it's not a slaughterhouse. So it took me a long time to read more and more of Prabhupada's books to understand why it's considered a slaughterhouse. It's because if you see, the educational system is feeding you garbage to prep you to work for a company that's funding that school. And then even after you finish school, you're struggling to find a job. And then once you find a job, you're working hard and you gotta somehow juggle it, because all the work that happens within working in corporate capitalistic world, there's constant fight. You have to defend yourself. Today, by the mercy of this devotee, he took us to this war memorial place. And shocked to see how much money and energy and human resource is spent on defense. Ahara nidra bhaya maitunamshe. Eating, sleeping, mating, and defending. So you get this corporate job, even when you have a job that you spent 30 years of your life for, you still have to go and fight to make sure you keep your job. So you're fighting at every step to keep that job, to make sure you don't get fired tomorrow. You show up early. Whatever he says, yes sir. You just want to make sure, whatever it takes to stay there and try to keep moving up. So this is what American educational system does to you. And unfortunately, without that you can't get a job. And unfortunately, you need to have a job to take care of your family. But there are so many ways. Prabhupada explains there are so many ways to do it. And then we get into the exuberance, where we, if we have $1 million, it's not enough. We gotta have 2. Man, 2 is not enough. I need 20 million. Okay, I work and I get that. And then what? No, man, I need to be a billionaire. And then you start working hard. You get a house. 1,000 square feet is not good enough. Get 5,000 square feet. Oh man, 5 bedroom is too small. Let me get a 15 bedroom house. So this goes on and on and on and on. And you gotta work for it. You gotta really sweat it out. So, we have to find the balance. And the balance is when you have Krishna in your life, it's very easy to balance and juggle everything. So thank you very much. Yes, Prabhu.
My name's Andrew. Thank you very much for your beautiful lecture.
So we'll end here and we'll be heading out tomorrow. Thank you for tolerating us.
Check out.